Deputy Secretary Marten, how are you? Thank you for being here, bringing your thoughts and expertise to our audience.
It's so good to be with you and see you and have this conversation for the whole audience today.
Thanks. We've got a list of questions. The first one right off the bat is really, how have your experience as an educator, school leader, superintendent shaped your perspective and work today at the U.S. Department of Education?
Well, I'm going to just say again how great it is to see you again, Carol. It was so inspiring when I got to see you in person and have this super inspiring visit to Mesa Public Schools. That's where I was able to learn about the innovative work that you're doing all around the team teaching models. That was back, if you can believe that, back in January of 2023. And in fact, that was the very first stop of my national Raise the Bar tour. And I have to tell you, talking about Raise the Bar, the work that I saw coming out of Mesa Public Schools during that visit and ASU's Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College, you all set a high bar for the whole rest of the tour. I started there and then went across the country. So to your question, yes, I've been an educator for over 30 years. And so when I get to go and see you and your work, I know what I'm looking at because it's been my lifelong passion. And I've been an educator for over 30 years. For me, it's not what I do, it's who I am. And I think a lot of teachers say that. It's not just a job. Teaching is a calling. And I have, of course, a really different title right now. My title isn't teacher, kindergarten teacher, third grade teacher, literacy specialist, vice principal, principal, superintendent. I've had all those titles. And I'm very proud of the title I have right now. It's Deputy Secretary of Education. I'm very proud to hold this title and do this work. But I have to say, if I'm at an airport or in a grocery store, my instinct every time if someone asks me, so what kind of work do you do? I say I'm a teacher because that is what I am. It's who I always will be. It's in my heart and it's what comes to mind first and foremost in everything I do. So now in this big role that I have, I naturally view every policy decision that we make with that teacher mindset, which means I'm instinctively seeing policy through the lens of my students and my fellow teachers and my fellow principals and superintendents across the country. That is my wide angle and narrow angle of how I look at everything. I look at it through that lens. So I think that it's one of the things that's really so special about this administration. What we have is an incredible education leader in Dr. Biden at the White House and in our Secretary of Education, my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Miguel Cardona, also a career educator. I really think that having dedicated teachers helping to shape federal education policy, it makes good sense. Makes good common sense. We all bring an educator's empathy, urgency, and skill set to the work that we do every day. So it's one of the reasons I'm particularly proud to serve in this administration.
That's terrific, and absolutely right on point. Around we've got to look at those perspectives, right, of who's actually doing the work, right. So give me your sense. You came and you visited. What's your reaction, right, to this larger, what we'd like to think of as a burgeoning movement around strategic school staffing, of which there's a very clear and unambiguous focus on creating educator teams with distributed expertise, creating new pathways into the profession, expanding the impact of our very best teachers, restructuring compensation, all of these things.
All of that is happening right now. I think calling it burgeoning is right about the thing to call it, whether there was a pandemic or not. This is something that's clear. It's unambiguous. We've got to lean in on this. And I guess the way I can frame the way I'll address this big thought here around what this look like, the only constant that we have in life is change. We know that there's going to be all kinds of change that happens. So to raise the bar and address and meet the moment, we have to continue to innovate. We have to recruit and we have to retain top educators. How we actually do that is up to us to come up with these, creating the new pathways into the profession, expanding the impact for our very best teachers, all the restructuring. We know that teaching, at the end of the day, it's the profession that makes all other professions possible. So we have made clear investments to this end. We're putting our money where our mouth is by supporting states and districts through a variety of our discretionary grant programs, including we've invested $12.7 million in supporting effective educator development. That's a SEED program, kind of double meaning there. And the $95 million in the teacher and school leader incentive funds. And then we also have the EIR, the Education, Innovation, and Research Program, that has a whole new focus on promoting an effective and diverse educator workforce. So these investments are what we're doing in the work, investing in the workforce to make sure teachers are at the forefront of the investments that we make, because investing in teachers, quite frankly, is investing in our collective future.
Yeah. In our education system, right? So speaking of raise the bar, how does the work, how does that work then relate to your leadership and raise the bar?
Yeah, well, Raise the Bar is the whole Department of Education's initiative to increase global competitiveness for American students. It's like top line, big picture, but there's three key pillars, three ways that we do this. And my leadership of the Raise the Bar initiative is taking the whole of the agency's work and making it clear to what's working in education, leaning in on the things that we work, research-based, evidence-based practices on three key pillars around how we raise the bar. The first way we do this is that we make students competitive, is by creating conditions for academic excellence. That's the first pillar of Raise the Bar. In academic excellence, we raise the bar there by increasing literacy, creating a passion for reading through STEM education and more diversity in STEM education, both in the workforce for teaching STEM and also seeing more representation in STEM fields of our young students and learners. Also, we raise the bar around academic excellence with things like providing students with financial literacy. Academic excellence embodies the broad approach of what we all know our students need and deserve. A well-rounded education that includes arts education, STEM education, sturdy bridge to kindergarten through early learning, students with disabilities having the supports they need, engaging every student, and National Partnership for Student Success are two efforts that we have for after-school time and summer learning time and high-dosage tutoring where that's needed. There's a whole lot of initiatives inside the first pillar of Raise the Bar that's connected to academic excellence. So if we get that right, we're well on our way to raising the bar. But the second way that we raise the bar is by addressing learning conditions. So we want academic excellence. We want good first teaching, tier one instruction in the classroom. But what are those learning conditions? And we can raise the bar in two ways. And I have to say it was Andy Furlis, the superintendent at Mesa, who really shaped my thinking about this second pillar of Raise the Bar when she said, teachers are not leaving the profession. They're leaving the working conditions. And a teacher's working conditions are our students' learning conditions. So this second pillar of Raise the Bar includes providing better mental health services to our students, building it into the DNA of the school with wraparound services, and secondly, focusing on diversifying the teacher workforce. We have to give better opportunities and better pay to our teachers, which totally aligns with the great work that you're doing at ASU. And so specifically, when we look at the second pillar of Raise the Bar around learning conditions and working conditions, for the teacher part of it, I can talk a whole nother webinar on talking about the mental health supports for students. That's one aspect of the second part of Raise the Bar. But really, I want to talk about what we're doing for teachers and the teaching workforce. As a department, we've called on states and localities to do 5 things. First, increase teacher compensation. Second, we want states to expand access to high quality and affordable educator preparation programs. Third is to promote career advancement and leadership opportunities for educators. So there's real career pipelines for advancement opportunities for educators. The fourth is to provide high quality new teacher induction and job embedded professional learning through the educators' careers. And the fifth is to increase educator diversity. We need all of those things because teachers will be the first to tell you, we want to increase teacher compensation, but it's not just that. The working conditions are around the supports teachers have to feel a sense of efficacy in the work that they do every day. So that's the second pillar of Raise the Bar. It's around the learning conditions and the working conditions, and the teacher pipeline work is embedded in there. The third and final pillar of Raise the Bar just focuses on preparing students for global engagement, and we do that in 2 ways: ensure pathways to college and careers, and aim to make more students multilingual. So we take all of these 3 key pillars with the 6 initiatives under each of them, or 2 initiatives, 6 in total, that they're all interconnected. Because what we know is if we're going to reimagine education, which I think we must, and if we're going to raise the bar for our students, which I believe many are doing and more can, then we have to continue to reimagine and raise the bar. And that is in terms of incentive packages and opportunities for growth and a sense of efficacy that we provide to our educators.
And we talk here a lot about not making false choices, right? That we don't have to make choices. We have to figure out how to do it all. And that's a fantastic package for thinking about that. What considerations should we take into account as we collectively work to design new team-based staffing models that are better for learners, better for educators, and more sustainable for education systems?
Well, being able to see it firsthand was fabulous when I got to visit your system there. But let's talk broadly. What should we take into account? What can the considerations be? I think there's 4 broad areas that we should consider. First is access. We need to make sure that we're providing equitable access to the opportunities that are there. You can't just build an opportunity and then whoever finds that gets it. We have to have access both in terms of which educators are having access to advancement in their career and their leadership opportunities for growth, and which students have access to the master educators. And that has to be not by accident, but by design. So the first thing to consider if you're to take into account to design these better team-based staffing models, we know they're better for learners. The first thing is access. Who's in the program, who gets access to the models, and which learners get the teachers that are growing into master educators. Second is the whole child. I think students are always able to learn better when they're healthier and they have access to community and mental health supports. So programs like we have here at the department, like full service community schools programs, connect students to the medical care and the mental health supports so that they're set up for success in the classroom. That has to be built into any of these broad efforts that you're doing if you're going to have a more sustainable education system. The third is the pay and support for educators. We have to ensure that teachers are appropriately compensated, especially as they take on additional responsibilities and leadership roles. And we also need to ensure that the educators, including the school leaders, school principals, are given the kinds of supports that they need to have the training and the support so that they can make the new model successful. You can't just drop a model down and say, it worked over there, you try it here. Put in the proper pay and compensation, and then put in the support as you're taking on new initiatives. And then the fourth is once you do all that, don't just check the box and say we did it. You have to build in a system of continuous improvement. We have to make sure that we're gathering data about how these new models are working, who's participating in them, what are the outcomes. It's not just activity, it's outcome based, it's measurable, and you can see it. And that's what allows us to be nimble and adjust as it's needed. And frankly, it allows us to then scale it, because if you are constantly looking at the outcomes and you're showing it's working, if you need more money to scale it, you have a deliverable. And that was one of the things I was real impressed with when I was with you, Carol, is the way that you didn't just do it in Mesa, you've replicated it. So you've come up with ways to replicate and scale. You're invested in continuous improvement, and it's working.
Thank you. Two things you said there is, really design. The design is important. Context matters, right? And then being able to scale it. You talked about this, right? You've impressively been out on the road, seeing schools, educators in action. What have you seen that really inspires you that, we should be paying attention to and learning from?
My favorite part of my job is being out at schools and seeing communities that have decided what they care most about and going all in on it. When you have the board and you have community partners and you have teachers and all of the employee groups, everybody's involved, that's what inspires me the most. And the most innovative models that are out there because there's been a whole approach to it that has teacher voice, student voice, parent voice, community voices. So one example of I have a lot, but one is the Brooklyn STEAM Center in New York. That is a center that brought 400 juniors and seniors. They come from 8 different high schools around the area in Brooklyn that are students that are interested in pursuing careers in several areas. They have cybersecurity, full stack development, construction technology, culinary arts, hospitality management, design engineering, and film and media. And the students get brought onto this campus, which is a mixed use space right in the heart of the Brooklyn Navy Yard. It's filled with actual employers, incubator startup companies that are specializing in these industries in which students are interested in. They're taking the classes and then they go right into the industry. So they have real world learning, bringing it to a whole new level of hands-on, minds-on learning. So that was fabulous. I've also loved to see this really creative research-based mental health intervention for students. That was while I was out on the road. I think that was at Jackson Elementary in Wichita, Kansas. I met the school counselor there. Her name's Casey Rothwell. She had a vision in which she wanted to turn into a reality for a mindfulness room in her school. And it wasn't like touchy-feely, feels good, come and, have like lava lamps and beanbag chairs. She actually had core teaching principles of skill sets that she wanted to teach students as a professional counselor, particularly to help students address their mental health challenges after facing COVID. And so they took mental health to a whole new level. And I think that's really important. It wasn't just a room that kids went to. It was embedded, and the teachers were learning the skills. They had a proactive stance to specifically teach students techniques for when they get dysregulated, for self-regulation. They learn meditation. They learn emotional self-regulation. They learn about different feelings that they're having and what they can do, and they translate into life skills. So that was great. There's also one more I'll tell you about, was in Atlanta, the Coretta Scott King Young Women's Leadership Academy. This is a STEM certified school, and the girls there are called STEMinists. And it's a school that runs from 6 through 12. They emphasize belonging in STEM and multilingualism. So it's they also launched Atlanta's first ever public schools Japanese language program. So I saw so much there, and I know I said that was 3, but there's one more. It's out in Tacoma, Washington. It's called Science and Math Institute. This is a school that's in a park. It's outdoor learning. It's right on the water. So they have waterway learning, and then they have forest learning. And it's, again, hands-on, minds-on learning. And when I went to that school, again, I met with a whole table full of community stakeholders that are invested in building these kinds of fabulous models. So don't tell me that schools aren't doing great things for kids, because I've seen them all over the country. And every one of these examples, they've leveraged the federal dollars, the ESSER dollars, and the recovery dollars to actually build something that can have long-term sustainability.
Yeah, that's fantastic. They're really building these learning ecosystems, right? And thinking about more than just who's in the school. And as we think about who educators are more broadly, it's really very, very heartening to hear. So that's all good for all of us to learn more about those models too. We're all talking about technology right now. How do you see technology shifting the role of educators in teaching and learning more generally?
Well, I mean, it's at the front of everybody's mind, and it became the critical tool for connectivity. But at the end of the day, teachers are and will remain the key driver of providing comprehensive, rigorous academic school instruction for their students. So let me just start with that. So where does technology fit inside the idea that the teacher is the driver for student success and potential? So with that said, on any given day, teachers have over 2,000 digital resources at their fingertips. That could be overwhelming and exciting all at the same time. Mm-hmm. So how do we build in systems that will train educators to decipher all of these tools in terms of, is this a quality tool? Will this help personalize a digital experience for my students and learners? Can we efficiently harness this technology so that we're actually accomplishing our mission, which is enhancing learning for all students? That's critical. And teachers have to learn to have that critical eye and learn about, are these tools actually going to help us personalize, and are they quality? And there's lots of efforts around, even with our own Office of Ed Tech, around how to decipher all these tools that are out there. That's why we took a really important first step as a department when we partnered with the International Society for Technology and Education. We did that partnership to bring together higher education associations and educator preparation programs to develop a digital equity and transformation pledge, because teachers are leave the university system, they go into the classrooms, they have these tools. Have they been properly trained for using the tools for the positive impact that they can have? I'm happy to say over 80 education preparation programs have already signed onto the pledge, which is meant to accelerate change in how we're preparing future teachers to be successful in the new digital learning environments. When I was superintendent of San Diego Unified and the pandemic started, we had 16,000 staff. Having our teachers, not all of them were the digital natives that we needed them to be to get online and start teaching. They did not come out of their college preparation programs ready to teach that way. We had to build in very quick professional development to get everybody up to speed to be able to use the tools that they needed to help learning continue. But now, pandemic aside, these tools can be incredibly helpful and useful if you know how to use them.
We are one of those on that pledge, so happy to say.
Excellent.
What do you see right now then as the U.S. Department of Education's 2 to 3 biggest policy priorities related to educators and educator staffing?
We'll start with the first, that I think there's a theme running throughout this, that the value of a teacher needs to be best understood through this lens of promoting teachers for the leaders that they are. Teacher leadership matters. And so when there's teacher leadership, what matters that needs to be connected to that is advancement opportunities. And that includes distributive leadership models. We've talked about that at length today, but when teachers feel a sense of efficacy and their leadership is not only in their classroom with the students they're teaching, but across the school and across the district and maybe across the nation, that teacher leadership matters, and their voice with experience and the kind of expertise that they can bring to broader conversations in a distributive leadership model is what really helps the education profession. So number one is promoting teacher leadership. The second, I'll say it again, improving compensation and working conditions. You can't have one without the other. They're both important. Many teachers will say, we don't go into it for the money. Money does matter, but also the working conditions. So we're seeing the needle move on this. Since the 2021-2022 academic school year, we saw 29 states and DC have taken concrete steps at the state or system level to increase compensation. We want to see that happen. We want to continue to raise the bar on that. The third is to create high quality, affordable pathways into the teaching profession. We are seeing progress with apprenticeships and grow your own programs. There are now teacher apprenticeship programs in 28 states and Puerto Rico, which is up from 0 at the start of this administration. So registered apprenticeships can be an effective, high quality, earn while you learn model that does allow candidates to earn their teaching credential while they're earning a salary. That's a great model. It's not for everyone. It's not the only way to address it, but it is an important way, and we'd like to see that as a model in every state. The fourth thing is to provide effective new teacher mentoring. Teachers need support. They need ongoing job-embedded professional learning. For all educators, it needs to happen throughout their career. Everybody has what their next best growth step is. And it's not just teachers who are underperforming that need help. You need your highest performing teachers, your teachers that are just sort of mid-career and looking for something new. Everybody has growth to make, but you want to start with new teacher mentoring and then have it go ongoing, so it's job embedded and it goes all throughout their careers, not just at the beginning. And then the last one is tied to what I've already said about strengthening educator diversity throughout all of the work and teacher recruitment, preparation, retention. How are we ensuring that the teaching career is from people for all backgrounds that are eager, they're able to pursue? Because right now, only 20% of teachers identify as teachers of color. Students of color make up 55% of the student population. That's a mismatch that should disappear, but it takes intentional effort by design. So I think educator programs are one of the least diverse programs on college campuses, only behind agriculture and theology. We've got to work together to figure out how do we make the educator workforce reflect the students that they're teaching. And we have good models where it does happen, but it doesn't happen across the country yet.
Now, the summit convenes educators and leaders working in K-12 and research, policy, government, advocacy, nonprofits. What parting words of advice would you give to them as they meet, collaborate, and network over the next day and a half?
I think everybody should have the growth mindset that we know matters. Think big, but start small. Ask the bold questions. Ask the hard questions. Keep a big mindset, but start as local and as small as you can, and then you can expand from there. I love the quote, be the change you wish to see in the world. I love being able to bring smart minds together with a big idea. When I was principal at the elementary school in San Diego, our motto was work hard, be kind, dream big, no excuses. Just gather around the idea. Get as close and as local as you can. Have it be a big idea, but get as close and local as you can and gather a whole group of people around it. You're not going to do it alone. Have the teacher voice, have the parent voice, get students as a part of it. Like Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And I think that the team here together in this room today starts with the big ideas, but then starts small and local and then tap into the network that's being provided for today's learning opportunity. With all of you together, you can learn from one another and grow something truly sustainable and replicable that can scale across the country.
Thank you very, very much. Everything I hear from you is always, at the end of the day, it has to be good for students, for families, and educators. And that's, I think, what we're hoping for here. And as we think about what new models can look like and how we design and how we think about all the things that we're thinking about, but hopefully everybody in the summit for the next day and a half thinks about. So thank you very, very much, Deputy Secretary Marten, for being here. Much, much appreciated. Thank you.
It's an honor always to talk with you, Carol. Thank you so much.